Greetings, everybody. It's me, friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is my series, Nails in a Coffin, where we learn that with great kills, there must also come great nails. Well, we started the Puppet Master franchise a few weeks ago, and I'm having a lot of fun covering these movies so far. Here's a look at the average nails in a coffin for the first two movies in the Puppet Master franchise. The original Puppet Master had an average of 1.5 nails in a coffin, and Puppet Master 2 slightly lower with an average of 1.41 nails in the coffin. At the end of last week's episode, I was talking about, hey, what would it be like if, pieces of my action figure collection came to life, like the puppets do? And of course, with my luck, my Green Goblin figure came up missing. Now, the weird thing is, I found this tiny little pumpkin in my breakfast this morning, and I don't know how it got there. Well, I kind of know how it got there, but I really don't want to have to think about why it got there, and I still haven't been able to figure out where that Green Goblin figure went. Ah, not again. Anyways, we're covering Puppet Master 3 today, and Puppet Master 3 was released just 1 year after Part 2, but it's not an actual continuation of Part 2, it's more of a prequel that tells the story of Nazis trying to get Andre Toulon's secret formula. By the way, the continuity of this franchise really doesn't make any sense. The beginning of Puppet Master 3 contradicts the beginning of the original Puppet Master, and if you want more information on the continuity of the Puppet Master franchise, check out my friend's YouTube channel, Movie Timelines, Josh. I'll have a card up here. He goes over continuity for all kinds of horror films, and he covered the Puppet Master franchise. Well, that should cover everything, so let's get down to business and get ready to put some nails in a coffin with Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge. The movie opens up in 1941, which I mentioned previously. It doesn't make sense since in Puppet Master, Andre Toulon unalived himself in 1939. So a scientist named Dr. Hess is being forced by Nazis, especially his Gestapo liaison, Major Krause, played by Richard Lynch. He's forced to create a drug capable of animating dead corpses so they can use it as living shields on the battlefield. But he can't quite get it right. The corpses too reanimate, but they have a tendency to be just mindlessly violent creatures. In a small theater downtown, Andre Toulon has set up a politically satirical puppet show for children, starring the six-armed American Old West puppet named Six Shooter, who attacks an inanimate reconstruction puppet of Adolf Hitler. The show was attended by Lieutenant Eric Stein, Krause's driver, and after the performance, Toulon and his wife Elsa are feeding the puppets with the formula which actually sustains their life force. But they are being watched by Lieutenant Stein, who informs his superior the next morning. Hess generally is fascinated by the formula, and he wants Toulon to freely share the secret with him, but Krause wants to take Toulon in for treason. The next day, Major Krause, Dr. Hess, and a squad of soldiers, they find where Andre Toulon is living. They bust into his apartment and take him into custody. They grab Tunneler and Pinhead, as well as his secret formula. When Toulon's wife, Elsa, she attempts to stop them from taking the formula, but unfortunately, she's shot by one of the soldiers, and Toulon is dragged away from her. When Major Krause was about to leave, the wounded Elsa spits on him in defiance, and in retaliation, Krause shoots her dead. This was the first on-screen death. It was Andre's wife, Elsa, and I'm going to give her 3 nails in the coffin. You can argue that she wasn't smart when she tried to stop armed Nazis from stealing the formula, but I think it took bravery. She was most likely in a lose-lose situation, and that didn't stop her. She spit on a crab-bag Nazi, and that's always going to earn you more nails in a coffin. Yeah, she fought. She wasn't going to go easily, so for me, in this franchise, that's going to earn you a solid 3 nails in a coffin. The Nazis now have Andre in the back of their car with Tunneler and Pinhead on Andre's lap. And the puppets really haven't moved as, they don't want to give away Andre's secret. He's pretty much catatonic since he saw his wife get killed. One of the Nazis in the back picks up Pinhead to look at it. Well, Pinhead comes to life and wraps his hand around the Nazi's neck, strangling him to death. Meanwhile, Tunneler wakes up, turns his drill on, and he drills through the back of the seat, through the chest of the driver, killing that POS. The car then crashes into some conveniently piled up crates, and Andre is able to escape. This is an easy one for me. Both of these idiots are going to get 1 nail in the coffin. Neither one of them really reacted when they were attacked. There really wasn't much of a struggle or a tough to get away from the car seat with the guy in front. Now, this film takes place in 1941, and seatbelts really weren't invented yet. So at least he could have moved away when he felt something sharp poking him in his back, but he just stayed there. As soon as you would feel the drill in your back, I think reflexes would have had you moving as fast as possible. And the guy in the back that was strangled, all he did was stop breathing. He could have tried much harder to get Pinhead off of him. Plus, they chose to be, in the position they were in by working for that type of people. So easily, both these idiots are going to die with one nail in the coffin. After escaping custody, Andre returns to his lab where he collects the rest of his puppets: Six Shooter, Jester, Pinhead, and Tunneler. He just lost his wife and he's obviously devastated, and he vows to get revenge on those people responsible for killing his wife, and he starts to formulate his plan. Andre then he visits the morgue. Pinhead sneaks his way in through a window. The mortician hears something and he goes to check on one of the corpses, but when he's checking under the shroud, Pinhead jumps on his back and garrots him to death. I'm going to give the mortician 1.5 nails in a coffin. He really didn't try and get Pinhead off his back. He could have spun around, slammed his back into a wall. He could have tried what Mr. Miyagi said before and stepped back. But it was a small puppet, so that may not have worked. Now, he did have a shorter amount of time to try something, and he didn't even try and get his fingers under the rope. It does look like there was some type of room there, but it was really quick. He was struggling to breathe, and he was jumped from behind. And from the last few movies, it does appear that Pinhead has a good amount of strength. He's strong enough to drag a body like we saw in part 2. But I don't think this mortician did enough to deserve 2 nails in a coffin. So I'm pretty much going to have to settle and give him 1.5 nails in a coffin. After the mortician is killed, Jester lets Andre into the morgue and he gets a tissue sample from his deceased wife. As this is happening, another mortician enters the morgue. He sees Andre and he's about to call security, but Jester cuts the phone line, runs up to him, and stabs him in the leg. He falls to the floor, and Andre and his puppets are able to get away. Now that Andre has a tissue sample, he goes to the pharmacy. He uses Elsa's tissue sample to make more formula, and he then injects it into a female puppet, and this puppet starts to move and shake. It's Elsa revived. He tells Elsa that this is the best he can do for her, and then he stares her from him and tells her she can still get revenge on the people responsible. So Andre takes a leech, puts it in Elsa's mouth, and he creates Leech Woman. I was telling MJ about this part of the movie, and she wasn't happy with Andre's decision to turn his reanimated dead wife into a Leech Woman. The other puppets have cool puppet powers: strength, a drill, 6 guns. I don't know what Jester has, but he chose to give his dead wife leech powers. But I don't know. Who am I to judge? Krause's driver, Lieutenant Stein, just dropped Krause off, and he was told to go service the car and come back in an hour. Lieutenant Stein was working under the hood, and he's pouting and mimicking Krause. He closes the hood. He sees Jester sitting on the hood. Pinhead is by Stein's feet. He hits him in the leg, causing Stein to fall to the ground. The fall knocked him out for a second, and when he comes to, Pinhead is standing over him with the wrench. Stein screams, and Pinhead smacks him in the head with the wrench. Then Leech Woman climbs atop of Stein and pukes a leech up on his face, ensuring his death. I'm going to award Lieutenant Stein 1 nail in the coffin. After he was knocked out to the ground and he was coming to, he saw Pinhead standing over him holding a wrench. All he did was scream. He never put his arms up. He never tried to get up, roll over, do something. And as soon as Stein opened his eyes, there was at least a 5-second pause till Pinhead smashed him in his face. That was some time to try and move or block the wrench or do something. And when Leech Woman climbed on top of him to vomit the leeches on him, again, all he did was scream. He really didn't move. A lot of people in this franchise seem to forget they have arms since they never use them. Lieutenant Stein, the driver, is going to get 1 nail in the coffin. General Mueller just finished Happy Time at a brothel, so mid-coitus, 6 Shooter climbed up the side of the building and hid inside the room. Now, General was saying goodbye to one of the ladies while 6 Shooter was there, and he raised his arms and put his mask on. Mueller turns around to see 6 Shooter standing there pointing guns at him. He thought it was a joke or a toy. 6 Shooter shoots around at the General but misses. The General went for his gun, fires around at 6 Shooter, taking off one of his arms. But then 6 Shooter unloads on a General, shooting him a bunch of times, sending him out through a window, crashing to the ground below, killing him, while Toulon watches on in delight. Now, it's not looking good for the Nazis in this film. General Mueller is getting 1 nail in the coffin. I'll give him credit for grabbing his gun right away, but he stood there and only fired once, and he presented the biggest target possible by standing straight in the line of fire. You think a general would have a little bit of military training, but he didn't. It was too easy for him to get shot all those times. He pretty much just stood there. He could have kept fighting. There's a lot of things he could have done. Military training, I don't think he ever got. He was stupid, and he's only going to get one nail in the coffin. Getting towards the end of the movie now, Krause and some of his soldiers found where Andre Toulon was hiding in a bombed out building. He's been with Dr. Hess, now who wants nothing to do with Krause anymore. He wants to work and learn from Toulon. An armed soldier enters a room where Hess and Toulon are, but Pinhead sees him, picks up a brick. The soldier points his gun at Toulon and Hess, but Pinhead chucks the brick, hitting him in the face, killing him. This soldier is getting one nail in the coffin. He had military training. Maybe he was sick the day they taught you how to enter a room. I don't know how he didn't see Andre and Hess when he first looked into the room. He didn't look around to clear the room. He didn't look around to see was anything else in the room. He didn't pretty much do anything than stand there. He wasn't paying attention to any of his surroundings. Poor excuse for a soldier. He didn't know what the hell he was doing, but he's going to get one nail in the coffin. Another Nazi soldier enters the room where Toulon and Hess are standing. Hess fires a round at him from the gun he took off the other soldier, and the soldier returns fire. Neither one of them really hit anything, but he does fire from the hip, and you're never going to hit anything when you fire from the hip like that, especially with the rifle he had. Tunneler runs up and drills into the soldier's leg, causing him to fall to the floor. Then Leech Woman is on a chandelier above the soldier, and she starts vomiting up leechings that drop on his face. The last one falls into his mouth, and he dies. Here's another dummy who forgot they had arms. One nail in the coffin. He was drilled in the leg and fell to the floor, but then he acted as if he could no longer move, like he was a turtle stuck on his back. He screamed as the leeches dropped on him, but he never used his arms or tried to get up or crawl away or even try to knock the leeches off his face. And he pretty much just opened his mouth for the leeches to drop in. Pretty easy here. He was stupid, and he's going to die with only one nail in the coffin. A local man, Mr. Hertz, whose son was helping Toulon, was confronted by Major Krause outside the bombed-out shelter. Krause wanted to know if Mr. Hertz warned Toulon and told him to flee. Mr. Hertz was saying no. Krause then had a gun to Hertz's head, and Hertz's son was standing right there, and he called out, "Father!" since, he was worried about his pops. Hertz grabs the gun, tells his son to run, and during the struggle, Krause shoots Mr. Hertz in the gut and kills him. I'm going to give Mr. Hertz 3 nails in a coffin. I know it seems kind of high, but at this point, he was more concerned with his son's safety than his own. He had a Nazi confronting him. He was trying to cover up. But, yeah, he was just more concerned about his son's safety. He told the son to go and run. He didn't sell out Andre Toulon at this point. And he stood up for himself. Yeah, sacrificed himself so his son can get away. And I think that's a pretty solid 3 nails in the coffin. Soldiers are searching for Hess and Toulon, and 3 of them are jogging down the street, checking doors. One of them, the last one in the line, looks inside an open door, and there's 6-shooter. He opens fire, kills the soldier, shooting him a bunch of times. I'm going to give this guy 1.5 nails in a coffin, and the only reason he gets half a nail is how fast 6-shooter shot him. And the soldier pretty much didn't have any time to react. If he was hunting for other soldiers, I would have given him 1 nail in a coffin for being stupid and presenting, again, a large target to the enemy, the way he just jumped in front of the door. But he was told to look for an elderly man, and the only reason he gets that extra half a nail is after being shot 6 times. He didn't die right away, and that's going to come into play for our next death here in a minute. So I guess I'll be generous and give this idiot 1.5 nails in the coffin. As I was mentioning, the soldier is not dead just yet. Hess goes over to check the body. He says, he's done with, and Toulon is watching. As Dr. Hess is leaning over the body, we do learn that the soldier is not dead just yet. And with one last breath, he unsheathed his knife and stabs Hess in the stomach, killing him. I'm going to give Dr. Hess 2 nails in a coffin. He did think the soldier was dead. I mean, he was shot 6 times. Also, he did fight against Krause and his soldiers so he can help Andre Toulon escape. He didn't think he'd get stabbed in the gut, and you can argue that he shouldn't have knelt over the soldier, but I didn't see him do anything inherently stupid. So I think going down the middle is fair, giving him 2 nails in a coffin. Now, Andre does take a tissue sample from Hess, and he actually puts them into the blade puppet. With our final death in the movie, and thankfully, it's Major Krause. He was sitting in his office, and he went to go use the phone, but the line was dead, courtesy of Jester. Blade slashes Krause in the hand and the leg, sending him to the floor. Andre Toulon walks into view to confront the Major. Krause takes a shot at him with his pistol, hitting Toulon in the arm, But what the Major doesn't know is Pinhead picked up an ashtray. He throws it at Krause, hitting him in the head, knocking him back down. Andre Toulon then tosses some ropes with hooks attached to it over a light fixture on the ceiling. Pinhead grabs the hooks, stabs one into each of Krause's feet, one in his hand, one in his neck. Andre then pulls Krause up and ties the ropes to a fixture on the wall, and he's hanging there like a puppet. Krause is screaming. Pinhead puts a halberd on the floor underneath him. Andre sets a Nazi flag on fire, which was right by the rope. The flag is burning. The rope catches fire, snaps, releasing Krause, dropping on the halberd, killing the scumbag. Krause is last to get nailed, and I'm going to give him one nail in the coffin. He's another villain that wastes so much time talking crap instead of trying to get free. He only shot Andre Toulon once, and he hit him in the arm. He should have shot him multiple times if you were really trying to kill him. Just don't shoot him once. And he's another victim that they just give up. They don't try and fight at all. They pretty much just lay there and watch as the puppets attack them. You don't kick. You don't try and stand up. You just scream as they're attacking you. You're not even fighting. Also, all of Krause's decisions and actions led him to this predicament, and that's why I'm giving this piece of Nazi one nail in the coffin. The movie ends at a train station. Andre, he got his revenge. Now he's taking his puppets to Switzerland with his new apprentice, Mr. Pertz's son, Peter. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my Nails in a Coffin 4, Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. Here is the average Nails in a Coffin for the first 3 movies in the Puppet Master franchise. The Puppet MVP for this movie was 6-shooter. He killed Nazis with ease, and he killed the general. Plus, I just think he looks really cool. I like when he killed the general. He puts his arms up, his little bandit mask goes up. He's just a fun puppet. I think he looks cool. And for Puppet Master 3, he is our Puppet MVP. Thanks again for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, I'd love if you hit that subscribe button. Keep me motivated. It's free for you, and I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you. I will see you next week when I cover Puppet Master 4, when bad puppets turn good. And I'm going to have to keep looking for that damn green goblin figure. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Be good to each other. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. And remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.